Censorship, A Fight for Freedom by Mac Bremer, Kata Kirkland, and Estella Bookout. Here are guiding questions. What has society learned from the history of censorship? What does censorship look like today, and what impact does it have on citizens? Is some form of government censorship necessary to protect society? And here's a video about the general idea of censorship.
It's been compared to a web, a superhighway, and a series of pipes. But really, the internet is so big and so awesome that these analogies fall flat. For the first time in human history, we can take any piece of information and move it at the speed of light from anywhere to anywhere. Well, almost anywhere. In many places around the world, governments are controlling what their people can and can't see online. Filters are just one of their tools. Filters are like virtual checkpoints. They scrutinize foreign internet traffic, searching for content that's been prohibited by the government. Information that governments don't like isn't allowed to cross the border. For example, France and Germany filter sites that deny the Holocaust. Syria filters YouTube, Facebook, Amazon, Hotmail, and pro-Kurdish sites. United Arab Emirates filters sites ending in Israel's country code, .il. Who's providing countries with filtering technology? U.S. corporations. These include companies like Google and Microsoft. Some of the same brands we use to open the flow of information at home are shutting it down abroad. In China, Google submits results pre-approved by the government. Microsoft's Chinese blog service rejects the word democracy in blog titles. In 2005, the journalist Shi Tao was sentenced to 10 years in prison thanks to information that Yahoo's email service turned over to the Chinese authorities. Countries are blocking words such as sex, naked, nudity, ass, and Falun Gong.
Here is the history of censorship, the Peter Singer trial. John Peter Singer was a New York printer, and in one of his journals, he targeted William S. Cosby. Eventually, he was accused of libel because he damaged Cosby's reputation. Singer went to court, but was called to be not guilty. And then this became known as the freedom of press, and eventually known as the First Amendment. The Sedition Act. The Alien and Sedition Acts were passed by the Federalist Congress. They were made to protect the Constitution, government, and American uniform or the U.S. flag against any disloyal, profane, scurrilous, and abusive language. The Republican minority complained that the act violated the First Amendment, which protested freedom of speech and press. President John Adams signed it into law July 14, 1798, and was set to expire March 3, 1808, his last day of his term in office. And here are countries. Pakistan is a federal parliamentary republic known as the Islamic Republic, and it has areas called provinces and territories. It is made up of 3 branches like our government, the executive, legislative, and judiciary, and you would get to see many festivals if you visited there. And Vietnam. The country of Vietnam is a communist government and is one of 4 one-party socialist states in the world. And they're the 3 flags of our 3 countries. Here we have Pakistan culture and food. Pork is forbidden in the Islamic religion, so you're very unlikely to see it in Pakistan. There's 10 million people in Pakistan in 5 different languages, which are consisting of Punjabi, Pashto, Sindhi, Saraika, and Urdu. And almost all of them belong to the Indo-Iranian group. The religion in Pakistan consists of 97% Muslim or 77% Sunni and 23% Shia. The other 3% of the religions contain like Christian, Hindu, and many others. Then we have Vietnamese culture. In food, noodles and vegetables are standard in most households, and Meal will include rice, meat, seafood, vegetables, fish, and even a sauce. Language, most people in Vietnam speak Vietnamese, but there are very few other languages spoken. Religion, they have many different religions, such as Buddhism, Taoism, Catholicism, Christianity, and many more. And to the right you see a map showing Vietnam and a chart about the religions. Next we have Pakistan censorship information. This is a chart showing Pakistan's level of censorship compared to other countries' levels of censorship. Next we have what things are censored in Pakistan. Pakistan government censors newspapers, television, and radios, also the occasional broadcast and media outlets. They censor any one of these that defames or opposes the government, members of armed forces, and anything that seems to be false. Also, the internet is extremely censored. Facebook, Blogspot, and YouTube are all censored. They also block any website that is blasphemous, anti-Islamic, or threatening to internal security. Next, we have consequences for breaking the censorship laws in Pakistan. Your consequence can vary according to not just how they feel about what you did, but what you did in general. If you criticize the government or army, post statements opposing Islam or it as a religion, or any other thing considered offending, you could be beaten, 2 to 4 years, have 2 to 4 years in jail time, and not necessarily just sentenced to death, but killed and not told to anyone or lied to of how you were killed, and many other consequences. And here's a video based off a true story of a Pakistan man who was beaten for what he did, or what he posted.
I was blindfolded, then first I was tied, my hands were tied like this and I was made to stand up. And then the people started to beat me heavily on my back. So after second or third day when I was changing during my injury, so I realized that everything is in a shade of blue and purple and black. All as much I could see, it was totally red.
मीडिया एक्टिविस्ट को रिहा करो हक पर डाका डालेंगे तो हम आपके गिरबान में हाथ डालेंगे आप चाहे जो कर सकते हैं वो करें हम कभी पीछे नहीं देंगे पाकिस्तान के अवाम के जुल्म का ये ज़ाब्ता ज़ालिमा जवाब दो ज़ालिमा जवाब दो
और है और रहेगा कि इनको पेश किया जाए लेकिन ताज़ा तरीन इत्तलात के मुताबिक ये चारों लापता नहीं हुए हैं इनको कोई उठा कर लेकर
Did you ever post anything that criticized Islam or the Prophet Muhammad?
Not really. We were critical of the army's use of religion to achieve their propaganda, but not against the religion. Mochi was totally a non-religious page. It never posted against religion.
And to the right, you can see a chart about the types of censorship and how censored it is. Anything striped is considered limited censorship. Anything solid is repeated censorship. Next we have Vietnam censorship information. What are some of the things the government censors in Vietnam? is the most heavily censored country, one of the most heavily censored countries in the world. They have many laws and regulations about censoring. One of these includes censoring almost all of the internet. Vietnam internet is very heavily censored. A new regulation was passed and that strengthened the government's position on censoring the internet. It leaves no safe place for people to speak freely, people say in Vietnam. What else does Vietnam censor? They censor anything political with political opposition on the radio. There have been many times where the country has blocked access to Facebook and LinkedIn. They also monitor Yahoo Messenger, with some messages often being blocked, and they also monitor others that are very similar to Yahoo Messenger. Vietnam censors most of the literature throughout their country and many websites containing significant journalistic presence. What are some of the consequences for breaking censorship in Vietnam? One example of the consequences from the Vietnam government for people who break their censorship laws is imprisonment. 4 years ago, 16 journalists were put behind bars in Vietnam. According to the Committee of Project Journalists, this was 5th most in the world. Police often use methods such as intimidation, violence, and raids of homes and offices to silence many journalists who report on sensitive topics. There's evidence that several very prominent journalists have fled into exile in the past 5 years. What are some other consequences of breaking censorship in Vietnam? There have been greater and greater internet restrictions placed on internet users in recent years. January 2013, 17 bloggers and activists who stood trial. Their trial was the largest of its kind in Vietnam. Next, we have Pakistan citizenship information. Here is 2 charts of crimes, very common crimes in Pakistan. Some of these crimes include vehicle theft, stealing, robbery, murder, abduction, assault, and some censorship crimes include any opposition to government, military, Islamic religion, and many other sensitive topics. Here are the death rates in Pakistan. You can see this chart shows the drop-down rate per year in thousands. So approximately 7.5 people die to every 1,000 people in Pakistan. The leading cause of death is cardiovascular disease, and it's a coronary heart disease. Here more on the death rates. The life expectancy of a Pakistani is 66.5 years. Most women live approximately 6 months longer than men, and women usually live to about 67.4 years and men to 65.7 years. Here is the overall happiness in Pakistan. From the World Happiness Report, they show that Pakistan is ranked the 75th happiest country out of 156 other countries. Pakistan has low unemployment rates and exponential gross domestic product or GDP growth. The increase of the inflation-adjusted market value of goods and services produced by an economy over time. And here's the population growth in Pakistan. As you see on the chart, it is a 2% annual change as of 2017. And as of December 2018, the population of Pakistan is approximately 203,040,165 people. The populace growth rate in Pakistan is about 2.10%. Here is the terrorism in Pakistan. In Pakistan, there are countless terrorism attacks yearly, and they are known to happen. Some examples are suicide bombers, shootings, school attacks, and many other examples. Here is the average family income in Pakistan. Each Pakistani family earns about 650 United States dollars, which equals $90,415 in Pakistani rupee. Families work multiple hours in Pakistan, and they have boundless and many jobs. Here are our guiding questions. Guiding question 1. What has society learned from the history of censorship? They have learned that censorship prevents conflict and helps keep countries secure with their country information secure. What does censorship look like today, and what impact does it have on citizens? Today, censorship can be seen by the blocking of curse words, also anything containing nudity or anything like that. Also, censorship impacts people's knowledge today because their main base of information is the internet, and censorship allows there to be more truthful internet or information. Is some form of government censorship necessary to protect society? Censorship allows people to look at truthful and good content, yet censorship can defy one's rights.